It's that time again, and if you're watching this video, then it means I have relapsed. I started playing Destiny 2 again, and honestly, I've been enjoying myself a lot with the new sandbox in PvP. Can't really say I was looking forward to doing the plethora of PvE chores as I found my way back home, but needless to say, I've done most of them, at least the ones that mattered. One of those being the Seraph Shield mission to get Revision 0, and the other is the Nezarec boss farm for conditional, and man am I happy I did that. It took me 18 tries just to get it to drop. Imagine if the raid wasn't on rotation, it would have taken me 5 weeks at that rate, and I was not gonna stand for it. So I just did it. Though, I gotta say, Revision 0 is definitely my favorite new weapon as of now. From the aesthetics to the sound profile and to the exotic design, I think it's damn near flawless. I could see why it's not used too much because the 450 aggressive archetype is not favored in this sandbox, and I think that's okay. And it serves as a jack of all trades, with its best trait being that the sniper round charges the fastest. The more competitive fire option is obviously the 2-burst mode, which squares up a lot better against its contemporaries in this sandbox. But it's a lot harder to aim with, especially up close, and it charges the sniper round slower. I think this weapon was designed super well, and there are different ways to navigate using it, which is why it's my favorite exotic thus far. Weapon glazing aside, I think overall the PvP sandbox is way more enjoyable than what it was when I stopped playing. Though the job is certainly not done, the gesture is very much felt, and I am receptive and thankful for it. First thing I gotta talk about though is the Transmat system. I think the Transmat system for special ammo is so well designed and is easily one of the best PvP changes they have made in the history of the Destiny franchise. Players who use primary get more special ammo, and the brain rot playstyle of special jousting at one another is finally over and done with, man. Players have to think about when to burn their ammo, and I think the gameplay is a lot more fluid and primary oriented, which is what I enjoy because I like primary gunplay in this game. Although it's nice for trials, I don't really believe it changes the gameplay loop of players ratting for special ammo kills. But I will say as a disclaimer that the only trials experience I have with this new Transmat system is on Cauldron, and that map has always been Cheeks. So I'm open to the possibility of it being very well the map rather than the system. But in short, just off of that small sample experience alone, the trials experience is still very much mid. I noticed Control definitely plays a lot slower, but that could be the matchmaking mechanism that Bungie is being dishonest about, to be honest. Like, I understand it's got outlier protection, which is cool, but I still very much feel the SBMM there, and it's blatantly obvious with the long queue times and how competitive most of the lobbies are. I quickly got deported back to Skill Island after several games, because I somehow ended up in South American lobbies that had scrim pre-mades in them. So I knew Bungie literally said, yep, you're back to where you were. Just gonna throw you in there. Even Trials feels more casual than 6v6 because it's at least open skill. Dare I even say competitive? And I guess I'll get into that in a sec, but I pretty much accepted that Bungie is against players like me, no matter what, so it's kinda whatever. I'm used to it at this point. What I really want to talk about though, which is a low point for me, is definitely the landscape of competitive. I think their heart is in the right place with the overhauled ranking system and rewards, but the gameplay experience and how competitive, quote unquote, the playlist is, still leaves much to be desired. The game modes are too few and lack variance in gameplay. They missed big time with the collision mode. You don't even have to be on the zone to score, which is the entire point of Hardpoint or King of the Hill. After seeing a disaster of what Collision was, I don't even want to see Bungie try their hand at another traditional mode to see how poorly they cook it. I guess Clash is better than Survival, but that's not really saying much. We need more modes and a better map rotation. I think it's criminal to be playing Clash on Widow's Court or Altar of Flame personally. That's insane to me. 3v3 Clash on those giant maps? It's not it, man. And I guess the reason I'm disappointed is because I always look back to Forsaken Comp and how that had 4 different modes that you could play, with the maps being curated for said modes. An example of this would be Countdown. You would never see Endless Vale Countdown as you would never see Vostok Clash or Control. With a large variety of maps and modes, it gave players and teams a space to really test their consistency across different flavors of Destiny modes. Whereas now, all you need to do is be good at killing and you're pretty much set. And special crates are terrible, by the way. Can we just use the Transmat system, please, and thanks? I do have to say, my biggest gripe so far with comp is that it does not feel like there are any stakes. So the depression of losing is not felt, and the excitement of winning is pretty much non-existent. I get that the overhaul made this playlist a lot more accessible, which is a good thing, but it is difficult to invest any kind of emotion into this playlist when the outcome ultimately does not matter. I've soloed my way to Ascendant pretty effortlessly and lost once on the way there, and that was due to a team diff, to be honest. It has the same issue that comp post-Forsaken had, where reaching max rank was a matter of how much a player was willing to persevere through the nonsense rather than off the merit of skill and talent. In Warmind and Forsaken comp, losing actually mattered because losing streaks were a thing, and even then you had to win several games to make up for that one loss. The queues were also long as hell too, so you might not get another game for 20 or 30 minutes if you lost. So it was in your best interest to lock it in no matter what. That's what made comp so difficult back then, although it was in the extreme difficulty range if we're being honest. Knowing that there was a lingering risk of losing 3 games worth of progress from losing once made winning all the more sweet. Although I won't discount the fact that pinnacle weapons at the time motivated folks to jump into competitive, just by virtue of winning and losing actually having emotional value made comp a lot more engaging, and this was proven because folks who had already had the pinnacle weapons continued to play, even though they didn't have to. I'm having a hard time getting engaged with comp for the same reasons I'm having a hard time finding interest in the Destiny storytelling narrative. If there are no stakes, that means no one can lose, and that's boring and uninteresting to me. I'll give credit where it's due though with the small things, and I think that's the gesture of Bungie trying different things, and even if I don't like what they are trying, I can appreciate that they are testing the waters and trying different things. They also penalize you for swapping exotic armors mid-game as well as weapon ammo type to prevent degenerate strategies of burning all your special ammo and then swapping to another primary. A really common example of this back in the day was a sniper player burning all of their snipes and then swapping to a bow, like a Monarch or something. That was really degenerate and brain rot to me. Once again, I understand Bungie is trying different things, but this current iteration of the competitive playlist is really bad, in my opinion, and the engagement metrics seem to reflect that. All in all, I think PvP is substantially a lot better than it was when I stopped playing. Even though the job is certainly not finished, I can certainly appreciate the gesture that Bungie's attempt to adjust the PvP landscape accordingly as player skill and knowledge went up. That was one of my main complaints in my last D2 video, where I stated that the game has to change along with the players, or else the game is just in a state of it being fixed and solved. I think this formula of PvP meets most of the players in the middle in the sense that there can still be chaos, but it's a lot more controlled and it's not free. So it's not free chaos, and it also allows players who favor more methodical gameplay to breathe. This flavor of PvP allows the most variance in ways to express your skill without feeling like you are always a burden. This isn't to say that there aren't fixed meta options and playstyles, and even degen ones at that, but that the sandbox is a lot more open to giving players other viable options that are competitive, so to say. As reluctant as I am to admit this, I'm actually having fun playing PvP again. That's all I gotta say on that regard though. If you made it to this point, appreciate you watching and let me know what y'all think. Also, since I'm playing again, it's only right that the primary ASMR and Guardian Theater series has a proper continuation. I didn't forget about that. On the note of Guardian Theater though, it's drier than the Sahara Desert in there, I'm not gonna lie. Either people are live, but their Twitch isn't linked to their Bungie account, so the API doesn't show it on the Guardian Theater website, so I would never know I played them, or people nuke their VODs or don't have them up anyways, and I would never know I played them. And let's say I do get content, right? but the content has to be good, right? If the content's not good, or not worthy of putting up in a compilation, it's kind of pointless. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that there are so many barriers to getting good Guardian Theater content nowadays, so y'all are just gonna have to temper your expectations on the frequency and quality of Guardian Theater content videos. That's it on that regard, though. I'll see y'all around, and take it easy, and I'll probably think of another video to make. Let me know what y'all want to hear about. See you around.